The first maid ran out screaming, dropping the tray, whispering that the billionaire hadn't blinked in hours. Yet his eyes were open, watching everything in terrifying silence. The second one refused to enter the room at all, saying the air felt heavy, like someone invisible was standing behind her, breathing slowly in the dark corners of the house. No one lasted more than a day inside that mansion, where wealth glittered outside, but inside every wall echoed with something broken, something painfully unfinished. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. The new maid arrived quietly at sunset, her footsteps steady, eyes calm, as if she had already heard the whispers, and decided they meant nothing to her. The manager warned her in the hallway, voice shaking slightly, saying, "People don't leave this job. They escape it." But she simply nodded and asked where the room was. Inside the dimly lit bedroom, the billionaire lay motionless, machines softly humming, his face expressionless, yet his eyes sharply focused on the door. Unlike the others, she didn't hesitate, didn't flinch, and didn't lower her gaze. Instead, she walked straight toward him like she had known him before. She picked up the untouched food tray, noticing it had been replaced multiple times, yet nothing had ever been eaten, as if time had stopped for him alone. And then, without asking anyone, without fear, she did something no maid had ever dared to do inside that silent, suffocating mansion. Instead of calling the nurse or stepping back in fear, she pulled the chair closer to his bed and calmly sat down, placing the tray beside her like this was something completely normal. She gently lifted a spoon, brought it near his lips, and said in a soft, steady voice, "You won't survive like this, and I didn't come here to watch you fade away in silence." For a moment, nothing happened. The machines kept their slow rhythm, the room stayed heavy, until his eyes shifted slightly, following her hand for the very first time. The manager, watching from the door, froze in disbelief, whispering to himself, because this was the first reaction the billionaire had shown after weeks of complete silence. She didn't stop there. She leaned closer and said quietly, "I know you can hear me, and I know you're choosing not to fight," her words cutting deeper than any medicine ever could. Suddenly, his fingers twitched faintly under the blanket, a small movement, but enough to send shock through the room, as if something inside him had finally been disturbed. But instead of relief, her face turned serious, almost disappointed, as if she had expected more, as if she wasn't impressed by this small sign of life at all. That night, she refused to leave the mansion, ignoring every warning, and stayed beside him even as the lights flickered and the empty halls echoed with unsettling silence. Hours later, in the deep silence past midnight, she stood by the window and made a quiet phone call, her voice low and firm, saying, "Yes, it's him. I've found him." And in that moment, the story shifted completely, because she was never just a maid, and whatever she had come for inside this mansion, it had only just begun. Early the next morning, the mansion felt different, the silence no longer empty, but tense, as if something had awakened overnight and was now waiting quietly for its next move. In the kitchen, the staff whispered nervously, noticing the billionaire's vitals had changed slightly, something doctors couldn't explain, something that didn't follow any medical logic. She walked out of his room calmly, her expression unreadable, ignoring their questions, as if she already knew what was happening, and had no intention of sharing it with anyone. Instead of resting, she asked for the car keys, surprising everyone, and within minutes she was driving through the empty streets, heading somewhere no one in that house expected. The car stopped near an old hospital on the edge of the city, a place long forgotten, its walls cracked, its name barely visible, carrying a history people preferred not to remember. She stepped inside without hesitation, walking straight through dusty corridors, as if she had been there many times before, her footsteps echoing like a memory returning to life. At the reception desk, an old man looked up in shock, recognizing her instantly, his voice trembling as he whispered, "You shouldn't have come back, not after what happened here." She placed a worn photograph on the table, revealing the billionaire years ago, lying on a stretcher in that very hospital, surrounded by chaos and something deeply disturbing. "Tell me everything you hid," she said coldly, her calm voice now carrying quiet anger, "because he's still trapped, and I'm not leaving until I break whatever you started." Back at the mansion, at that exact moment, the billionaire's eyes suddenly widened, his breathing turning uneven, as if something far away had just reached him again. Rain poured heavily as she stepped out of the old hospital, gripping the file tightly, her face pale, because what she had just learned was far darker than she imagined. Inside the file were records of an accident that never made the news, a hidden case where the billionaire was brought in half dead. But he wasn't alone that night. The doctor's report mentioned another patient, unnamed, critical, and strangely erased from all official records, as if someone powerful had forced that identity to disappear forever. She sat in the car, breathing slowly, replaying every word, realizing this wasn't just an illness. It was something buried, something intentionally silenced years ago. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, the billionaire's condition suddenly worsened, machines beeping rapidly as nurses rushed in, unable to control the chaos unfolding around him. His eyes moved wildly now, not empty anymore, but filled with fear, as if he was seeing something no one else in that room could understand or even imagine. The manager panicked and called the doctor, but before anyone could act, the billionaire's lips moved slightly, forming a broken whisper that no one except one person could hear. At that exact moment, her phone rang inside the car, and when she answered, the voice on the other side said nervously, "He just tried to say a name. It sounded like yours." Her grip tightened on the steering wheel, heart racing, because everything suddenly connected, and the truth she feared the most was now impossible to ignore anymore. She turned the car around instantly, speeding back through the rain, because the secret she came to uncover wasn't just his past. It was her past, too. The car sped through the rain-soaked streets, headlights cutting through darkness, her grip tight on the wheel, because every second now felt like it was pulling the past closer. She replayed the name in her mind again and again, the way it was spoken, broken yet familiar, and deep inside she already knew this was never a coincidence. As the mansion gates opened, the guards looked confused, seeing her return so fast, but something in her eyes made them step back without asking a single question. Inside, Chaos had taken over completely, nurses rushing, machines screaming, the billionaire's body reacting violently as if something buried was now forcing its way out. She walked straight through the panic, ignoring everyone, and reached his bedside, her presence alone shifting the air, as if whatever controlled him had been waiting for her. His eyes locked onto hers instantly, no longer empty, no longer distant, but filled with recognition, fear, and something even deeper, something like guilt. The doctor tried to stop her, warning she was making things worse, but she didn't move, her voice calm yet sharp as she said, "You've kept him silent long enough." She leaned closer, her face inches from his, and whispered slowly, "That night, you left someone behind." And the moment those words landed, his entire body froze. The room went completely still, even the machines slowing, as if the truth itself had entered the space, heavy and undeniable, refusing to stay buried any longer. And then, for the first time in years, a tear slipped from his eye, revealing that whatever happened that night was not just hidden, it was haunting him alive. The tear didn't stop. It rolled slowly down his face, and for the first time, the room felt human again, as if years of silence were finally cracking under unbearable truth. She didn't wipe it away, didn't comfort him. Instead, she stood still, watching closely, as if this moment wasn't about sympathy. It was about forcing him to face everything. The doctor stepped back in shock, whispering that emotional response like this shouldn't be possible in his condition. Yet no one could deny what was happening right in front of them. She turned toward the staff and ordered firmly, "Leave the room, all of you."
You don't have to look behind.
And
I'll be there just outside. When the world gets way too heavy,
once the door shut,
I'll be holding up your sky. You don't have to say my name. I'll still hear you in the dark. Even if you never notice,
She pulled a chair
I've been with
and
you
sat beside him again, her eyes fixed on his, and said quietly, "You remember that road, don't you?"
If you
And
stumble,
his
if you
breathing
fall,
instantly turned uneven.
if your
A
light
faint
begins
sound
to
escaped
fade,
his throat, broken
I'll be
and
right
weak,
there
but
in the
clear enough to
silence,
understand one
making
thing.
sure you're
He wasn't
not
unconscious
afraid. You
had been
don't have to
hiding
look behind. I'll be
continued,
there
her
just
voice
outside. When the world gets
One
way
breath,
too heavy,
and you
I'll
walked
be holding
Each
up
word
your sky. You don't have to
forcing
say
fragments
my
of memory to
name.
surface.
I'll still
His
hear
fingers
you
curled
in the
tightly,
dark.
nails
Even
pressing into
if
his
you
palm as
never
flashes of that night
I've been
stormed back
with
into
you
his mind,
from
louder, clearer,
the start.
and far more painful than before. And then suddenly, with trembling effort, his lips moved again, forming a single
If it
word
means
that
that
changed
you keep
everything.
moving,
A word
I'll
that
just
confirmed
stay
he remembered the truth.
here.
The word left his lips slowly, broken and trembling, but clear enough to freeze her in place. Because it wasn't just a memory, it was a confession he could no longer hide. She closed her
I'll
eyes
be
for a second,
holding up your
pain flashing across
sky.
her
You
face.
don't have
But when
to
she
say
opened
my
them again,
name.
there was
I'll
no
still
softness
hear
left,
you in the
only
dark.
truth, sharp
Even
and
if you
impossible to
never
escape.
notice,
"You
I've been
remember,"
with you
she said quietly, her
from
voice steady
start.
but heavy. And he tried to look away, but his eyes couldn't move, as if guilt had finally locked him in place. Her hand tightened slightly around the chair, not in anger,
You
but
don't
in
have to turn
control.
around.
As she continued, "You didn't just walk away that night. You chose to leave someone there." His breathing became uneven again, faster now, panic rising, because every word she spoke was pulling him deeper into a memory he had buried to survive. She stepped back slowly, giving him space, but her voice didn't soften. You heard the voice calling for help. You saw the hand reaching out, and you still left. Tears streamed freely now, his entire body trembling slightly as the machines struggled to keep up, reacting to the storm of guilt breaking through years of silence. I was there, she said finally, and the room fell completely still, her words hitting harder than anything before.
Put that out, Chad.
I was the one you left on that road.
You'll never know.
The truth settled
How
heavily
loud it is
between
in
them, undeniable and brutal, turning the mansion into something else entirely. Not a place of illness, but a prison of past decisions. And in that moment, everything changed forever. Because this was never about saving him. It was about making him face the life he destroyed and the truth he escaped. Silence swallowed the room as her words settled, heavier than anything before. Because this was never just about illness. It was about truth buried alive for years.
It's raining deep inside my heart,
but his body refused, trapped between fear and regret,
I just stand
as if
here
facing her
in the
was harder than
silence
facing
while I
death
watch
itself
you let
after
me go.
everything he had done.
You're walking with
She stood there,
somebody
not angry,
else,
not
like
shouting,
I never
just watching
crossed
him
your
with a calm
mind.
that hurt more than
And I'm
rage,
drowning in
because
this
she didn't come
feeling
for
that
revenge.
I'll never
She came
leave
for something
behind.
deeper. I didn't die
I could
that
scream, but
night,
what's the reason?
she said quietly, her
You were
voice steady,
never really
but
mine.
something inside me did.
So I bury
And
all
for
the
first time,
pieces
his eyes
and
filled,
pretend that
not
I'm
just with
alright. It's raining deep inside
She
my
walked
heart,
slowly toward the window,
but I
looking out
don't
at
let
the
it
family
show.
he once knew.
I just stand here in the silence
all this
while I
While I
watch
was
you
learning
let
how
me
to
go.
deal with what you left
You're walking
behind.
with
His
somebody
fingers moved
else,
again, weaker
like
this
I
time,
never
reaching
crossed your
slightly toward
mind.
her,
And
not
I'm
for
drowning in
but
this
for forgiveness
feeling
he
that
knew
I'll
he didn't
never
deserve
leave
after everything. She
behind.
turned back, her expression softening just a little, not enough to forget, but enough to show she had already fought the battle he was losing right now. I didn't come here to destroy him, she
I
said,
won't call your name
stepping
out
closer
loud.
one last time.
I won't ask you to stay now.
So
If
it
you're
stopped
happy where you
destroying both of them.
are,
Tears
I'll just
didn't stop
fade
from his
into
eyes
the
now.
crowd.
His breathing slowing, not from
It's raining
machines,
deep
but from
inside
something
my heart,
releasing inside him,
but I don't
something
let
that
it
had
show.
held him prisoner for
I
years.
just stand here
She
in
gently
the
placed his
silence
hand back
while
on the
I
bed and
watch
stepped
you
away,
let me
because
go.
some endings
You're
don't
walking
need
with
revenge,
somebody
just
else,
truth,
like I
acceptance,
never crossed
the
your
courage to
mind.
finally
And I'm
let go.
drowning in this
The story
feeling
ends here, but the mystery lives on.
that
Like,
I'll
subscribe,
never leave
and return
behind.
for the next unforgettable journey.